Live Local Associations Summit. We're so excited to get a chance to chat with everybody again. And if you haven't been to the summit before, really this is designed as an opportunity for networking, connection, brainstorming, workshopping, like really having conversations, local association to local association around various topics, what you're seeing in your area, sharing ideas, workshopping through challenges, and really getting support from each other. And so the design is that we'll be in breakout rooms for much of today's meet for conversation. And so we will go into the same breakout rooms every time. This way we only have to introduce ourselves once, instead of spending 10 minutes every breakout room figuring out who's in the room. We will have 4 topics that we'll discuss. So we'll go into a breakout room, chat, come back to the main room, debrief, share out what were some ideas that floated to the top in your room, and then go back into a breakout for the second topic, and then back for a debrief. 4 times we'll do that. So that's the bulk of what we're going to do. We'll share a little bit of information around for Alive or around Alive, and it is our International Volunteer Managers Celebration Day, which is not happening until next week, but this is the closest date we could get to it. And we always invite sort of a volunteer program management dignitary to speak around, volunteer engagement and what this profession means to them in their careers. And we are so excited that today our dignitary is Gretchen. You may or may not know that Gretchen is going to retire, and I won't get upset about that at all. So she is going to share with us about her amazing career, and we can get there when we get there, but really just want to shout out and celebrate the unbelievable contributions Gretchen has made to volunteer program management, starting with her local association, which I am a member of. So I've known about Gretchen's work for like literal decades now. So with that, Gretchen, we'll also have a door prize at the end. So if you came, there's a drawing and we'll have a door prize at the end. So good job you for coming and getting in the drawing. Gretchen, can I advance the slides? I don't think I can.
I will be happy to do so. Okay.
Thank you. So we'll just do a quick figure out who's in the room. We'll do this quickly because we can do more like engaged introductions in the breakouts. Just introducing yourself, where are you calling from, how long have you been involved in your local, what your local association is, how long you've been involved with your local association, and then if resources were no barrier, what would you like to do at your local association? So I'll start off saying I'm Jen. I'm with NOVA from Portland, Oregon. I've been involved in NOVA since 2013. If I had unlimited resources, what would I like to do? I would love if we had opportunities for more in-person trainings and things like that. That's always where our resources get really skimpy on, renting a room and things like that. So I would love more in-person as well as a hybrid hybrid options as well. So Jerry, I'll throw it to you. Unmute.
Those people on the news stations. Okay, so I'm Jerry Pinozo. I've been with NIABA 25 years, but we were AVA Region 2 before then, and that was like about 1994. Let's see, I'm representing New York Association of Volunteer Administration. I'm the current president. And if we had the resources, I would like to continue to rebuild our membership, specifically so we can rebuild the standing committee structure that we kind of lost during and post-pandemic. Thank you.
Yeah, great. Awesome. Thank you, Jerry. Mary Lynn.
I'm Mary Lynn Perry, and I'm calling from Sacramento, California, which is actually finally cooled down. We were in the 50s this morning. I actually had to find a jacket, which put a sweatshirt on, it's like, oh, it's actually cool now. It's not 100 degrees anymore. I'm with Dovia Sacramento, and so I've been with Dovia for about off and on for about 10 to 12 years, so for quite a while. And if resources or time were no barrier, I think I would echo actually both you, Jen, and Jerry, because the challenges are dual in the sense that trying to make sure that you're filling your board and you've got committees and people coming along. That whole sustainability of the structure is always, I think, in the back of your mind when you're working as a leadership member of your local association. And then also we have had some good success at having things in person, and I'd love to be able to do more of that. But just like you're saying, Jen, the whole question of finding space and all those things, it is a challenge to be able to do that all the time. But we've been doing more in person in the past year or so, and actually I think been a big draw for people.
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you, Mary Lynn. Ashley.
Hello, I'm Ashley Reiser. I'm with VASP. I'm the president of the Volunteer Administrators of Southwest PA. I've been with the organization for about 12 years. I just echo what everybody else is saying in terms of increasing membership and providing more opportunities to network and engage with other volunteer engagement professionals throughout the area.
Absolutely. Thank you, Ashley. Will.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Will. I'm calling in for our nation's capital in Washington, D.C. I am new on the Alive Board of Directors, and unfortunately, we do not have a local association here in D.C., but we are in the talks of starting one. So I have not been involved. And I don't necessarily know if I can answer the last question, but I'll repeat everything that everybody said, because I'm sure that is
Awesome.
relevant. Thank you so
Yes.
much.
Thank you. Giovanni.
Hi, everyone. My name is Giovanni Otero. I'm calling from St. Louis, Missouri. I am with the Metropolitan Volunteer Management Association here. I sit on the board. I've been with them for almost 2 years now, so it's been really exciting. Basically, like from my start as a full-time volunteer coordinator, very shortly after I got involved with the association, and I was lucky enough to start becoming more involved with them. And if I had no or unlimited resources, I think I'd love to see some sort of like blog or article that we could have on our website. I feel like there's a lot of good workshops and good content, but not as much like written material for those folks that maybe can't, go to a workshop for an hour. It conflicts with their schedule. So
Sure.
I'd love to see like little bite-sized things like that that we could provide to our folks.
I love that. That's a unique idea. Thank you. Kate.
Good morning. I'm Kate Ekman. I'm calling from Los Angeles, but like Mary Lynn, it's cold today. I took the dog out. It was 48 degrees. I'm sorry, you all who are in colder climates. I grew up in Wisconsin, so I know it all sounds ridiculous, but we turned our heat on today. I am with Dovia LA, and I've been involved since 2015, started as a member, joined the board, president, and then worked our way into a nonprofit organization that's now our umbrella, and I'm still leading Dovia LA. We just had the hybrid conference. We had 60 people in the room. It felt amazing to have that, especially coming through pandemic times. And what I'm thinking about, if time or resources were no issue, I'm just kind of picturing people coming together in like a really nice room with comfy chairs where there's tables where we can sit and chat with each other in smaller groups and come and do some learning, but just like a really nice setup that helps us feel like in a relaxed environment and valued and like elevated as a people. Why shouldn't we have
Yes.
that?
I love that. It sounds super cozy. I want to join. So when you get that, let me know.
I will.
Thank you. Amanda.
Hello, my name is Amanda O'Brien. I am in Appleton, Wisconsin. I am a member of a handful of the volunteer associations and saw this webinar and thought, okay, maybe this will be interesting to join. So very honest and transparently, I feel like you guys are all talking about your organizations you're part of. I'm involved in a lot, but I am not a president.
Oh, you don't need to be. Absolutely not. No.
Okay. And yes, it's cold here. But I don't think it's gonna snow tomorrow for Halloween, so that's good. It snowed last year, so I'm hopeful it doesn't snow. And I've been involved with the volunteer program I'm managing for a little over a year. So really a lot of what I'm doing right now is just like having conversations with different professionals like you all to figure out, what's working and what's not. So I'm
Got
excited
it.
to hear from everybody.
Great. Thank you, Amanda. Shirley.
I'm Shirley Conger, Caldwell, Idaho. I'm with what was SWEDA, Southwest Directors of Volunteer Services, but last week was officially changed to Idaho. We've done away with the Southwest. COVID and the internet have spread us out over the whole state, and that has worked well.
Love that.
I've been involved since it was way back in the early days of Boise Valley directors, way before Alive even started. And so Gretchen knows. We've been with Alive since it began. Resources. We are at the point where it's just plain money. We need the money so badly. And so that's fundraising is the one thing that we're really looking at this point. Just to keep going with our internet and all of the things that we have to do. And other than that, I think we're doing pretty well, providing for everybody what they want. And we do more than half online, and then a couple of times a year do a in-person networking that works out really well. And that's it from us.
Fantastic. Thank you. Gina. Oh, Gina, that's weird. She just asked if she could. I just got an admit request from her. She might be back. Julianne.
Hi, everybody. Let me see if I can put my camera on briefly. Nice to see you all. Thank you for having me. Thanks, Jerry, for making sure I was invited. I am Julianne Rich. I am currently the treasurer for NIAVA. I'm in Brooklyn, New York, one of the boroughs of New York City. I've been involved with NIAVA on and off for about 20 years. And I came back to board service at Jerry's request a couple of years ago. I've been having a great time working with Jerry and our board. And if time or resources were not a barrier, what would I like to do at our local association? I think I will echo everybody who says membership. I think if membership, if you don't have your membership, you don't have worker bees to draw from your membership, and you don't have leadership or potential leaders. So this has kind of been a nut we've been trying to crack. I don't think there are a lot of easy answers. And along with membership, I think I am so happy some people are getting together again in person. We've tried a little bit to dip our toes back in that water, and it hasn't worked out so well for us. Our folks really like Zooming. So I think building out more ways to contact our members via our website. So maybe like a members only section or a chat group. These are some things that we've heard from our membership that they'd like to see. So those are some big goals that we have. Yeah.
Awesome. Those are great goals. I love that. Thank you, Julianne. And kudos to you for coming back, getting pulled out of retirement. Gretchen knows a thing or two about that. Gina, welcome back.
Hi, sorry about that.
No,
Hi.
we're glad you're back.
It was much more fun. I was on a plane, right?
Yeah.
I was in a car for leaving a coat drive. So my name's Gina Edwards. I'm with the Heart of Illinois United Way. So we had a group called Nova as well, just like you did. And that was around for years. I was involved with that for years. And towards the end, we just didn't have the engagement that we want. We would have maybe like 7, 8 people show up for a meeting. Half of them were the vice chair like me, the treasurer, the secretary, and the president. And so we weren't really getting the engagement that we wanted. And so our organization runs an online volunteer center and program in our community and has about 50 nonprofits. So we're going on our 3rd year starting in January. We took over that group and call it the Heart of Illinois Volunteer Administrators now. And so it's been really good. We have a lot of good membership, a lot of good engagement. They seem to be happy with just letting me run things, which is a little weird. So I'm like, I don't know if that's good or not. So what I'm working on for next year and probably reflects what you guys are saying is I keep wanting, Gretchen did a great job for us in August. I'm trying to bring in more speakers and more voices and make sure I'm sharing the right trends around volunteer engagement with our members. And we have a lot of young professionals that are engaged. I'm just trying to make sure that they get the best knowledge and experience that I can give them. So
I love that. Thank you, Gina. That's fantastic. And Becca.
Perfect. I'm Becca. I'm the Dovia president for the Sioux Empire Dovia in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. Been with them for about 3 years. So we are trying to rebuild. So I think I was kind of volunteered into the VP role, which then keeps me on for a while. So, but I've enjoyed it. We've kind of, I think this year we brought in a lot of good speakers and we've been meeting in person. So that was great. If I had resources or if time or resources were no barrier, we'd love to bring back our conference. We used to do a conference with with the hybrid conference, and then we would also do another day where we would bring in other speakers. But just cost of that is not great when the memberships really only pay for the food that we provide, and so hard for that. And then also trying to, we're only really on the east side of South Dakota, and so trying to incorporate maybe more of the west side too, and figuring out how to kind of still meet in person, but also include the other half of our state. So that would be my dream.
Awesome. Thank you. All right. One of the things I love about this is that you get such interesting and unique ideas from place to place, and there's so much similarity from place to place, right? Both are true. So awesome. Thank you, everybody. So Gretchen, do you want to click the slide? I think we're ready to go into our first breakout. Am I right? Yeah. So these are our sort of discussion prompts for the day. So we'll start with, what do you want to tackle next year and are seeking advice about? And so some of us already started talking about those topics, but we'll start with, what do you want to tackle next year and are seeking advice about? So if you want to put a note in the chat about what you're talking about, so we don't forget. But yeah, next year's goals and advice. And I think, Gretchen, are you going to invite us into some breakout groups, and we'll start our chat. Our first breakout will be 12 minutes to allow for any introduction or orientation that needs to happen. And then we will have 10 minutes of discussion, and then we'll come back for a 5-minute debrief. So that's what to expect. So plenty of time to chat. All right. You should have an invitation to join a room. So we'll see you in 12 minutes.
So now we get to debrief. Whoops, wrong screen. So I'm going to just take notes live on here as we are going. So admit somebody. What did we talk about? Make sure
Well,
you.
I can start with what happened in my little group, which was great. And hey, Carol, I see you there. Welcome. So we started with a conversation around building a communications strategy for our local associations to include both, like newsletters, emails, kinds of things. And email tends to be pretty successful. Socials tend to have less engagement, and what to do there, which led to a conversation around just general committee participation. So one of a few of the things that kind of surfaced from the conversation around the difficulty in getting volunteers to support, or members to support committee work, was talking about committee work in a different kind of way. So being really specific around what the specific requirements of the committee work was, being really specific about the actual work that's happening, making actual position descriptions that don't talk about a committee in like a general way, but like a specific job. So maybe like social media strategist or something like that, not just communications committee. That's a little vague and unclear. It might sound overwhelming or boring, but social media strategist is a little bit more specific. So those were some of the ideas that were floated in our group. And I see Amanda popping up. What about you, Jerry? Unmute.
I'm looking at my notes, not the screen. Okay, so there were 4 of us. So expanding membership, board sustainability, your committees, money, fundraising, grants, setting up a local association, and then mentoring the incoming president. So then what we did is we said, okay, let's tackle each of these. So we spoke about like, the funding issue, how we fund, how we don't fund. Mary Lynn had some great suggestions in terms of the pros and cons of going after grants and the challenges there. We also talked about board members, how board members could help with that kind of stuff. Then we actually, and Lynn also, with Will, with like the startup, Mary Lynn suggested the Alive resource that she's going to expand on because I didn't write fast enough. But Will is doing this really, we ask him, what do you have in place now? And there's this potential leadership, which is great. They're going to do a happy hour and inviting all the volunteer managers in the area. And then we had, once again, the revisited the nonprofit status, and we reminded Will about the great community of practice, last community of practice on that. And do folks on our breakout group want to add anything? Mary Lynn, that resource from Alive, if you could share that.
I'm sure, and Gretchen may be able to find that. What we were talking about was the Alive Local Associations Handbook, which is just a great resource. It covers all the areas, and even if you have been with the organization for a long time, it's great to go back and look at that because it gives lots of an overview of each thing to be considering. And sometimes we get so in the weeds running things. It's good to get that big picture again. So I think Gretchen's going to try and post that.
Fantastic. Yes, it's such a great resource. I'm so happy you all brought that into your conversations. Thank you. Will, were you in a separate group?
No, I was in that group.
Okay. Who else, Gretchen, do we need to hear? Oh, Ashley, sorry.
Yeah, I was in the greatest group. They had wonderful things to talk about. You don't want to miss it. Becca kicked off the conversation talking about looking at ways to increase the attendance to the meetings, that they want to provide more professional development. They have happy hours and coffee mingles, but they're just looking to increase that. So we talked about different opportunities such as rotating locations, getting a sponsor for lunches that are offered. So if people are RSVPing and they're not showing up, that there's somebody that's paying for those and they're not eating those costs. Choosing different times of the day, morning or the afternoon, looking at panel discussions, trying to reach out to people outside of the area, doing combinations between in-person and Zoom. So lots of terrific conversation and dialogue, and we got pulled out of the room too fast because there was much more that we wanted to talk about. So looking forward to the next round.
Awesome. Good. Yeah, you can pick up where you left off. Yes, fantastic. Is that all the rooms? I think that's all the rooms. Gretchen? Okay,
Yes.
great.
I do.
All right, well, let's bounce to our next subject. So Gretchen will click the slide. Okay, how are you using tech and apps? Or are you using tech and apps? Or what tech and apps are you using? Any kind of combination therein. So Gretchen will invite us to some rooms and we will chat tech. I will work really hard to stay awake. Will be very excited for the next 10 minutes.
Yes, I will.
All right. And let's see, Amanda and Carol, I'm going to put you in a room also.
Yay.
Looks like they are there. And everybody, you should have your invites. Oh, open all room stuff.
There we go. Thank you.
Welcome. Yep, you guys are already in there and I'll be popping in after I get the handbook link.
And that kind of tech. Oh yeah.
Sorry.
Whoops. When looking at the tech for social media, it's really engaging your audience and seeing where the audience wants the social media, right? We all have Facebook, we all have Twitter, we all have, LinkedIn, but, in a professional capacity, most people might want just LinkedIn, right? To learn more about your local association. So don't spend too much time on the others, but really focus your time on LinkedIn. And the last point that we made was succession planning for technology, right? Because sometimes folks put passwords and username and login information in their own names and not necessarily a shared account. So as someone goes off the board, have a transition plan for technology to say, okay, we need access to this. I have access. Yes, great. Or, oh, Will, you need to share this with me before you get off.
The one thing with Will with that is with LinkedIn, basically you have to, the current person that is the administrator for Facebook or LinkedIn the other person has to be a friend of that. They have to friend each other and then you have to share it. And so like LinkedIn and Facebook, you can't use a shared password. You go from your personal to the other. And so I know a lot of professionals that are getting away from Facebook. And so it's hard to do that succession planning if they don't have a Facebook, because then they can't friend you in order for you to give. And it's always good to always have two people on as administrators.
Yeah.
Never have just one.
Exactly. Yeah, these are great tips. And Gretchen just put in the chat, look at TechSoup as well. Sign up for an account there. I believe it's TechSoup.com.
.org.
Thank you,
Yeah,
Gretchen.
I'll put it in the chat.
TechSoup.org. They provide a lot of opportunities for discounts as well for different nonprofits. And I told this to the little group that I was in. The reason that Jen was really excited for me to talk was because I am the technology chairperson for the National Alive organization. So I'm working with the team and the board at Alive to bring it all together. So I'm happy to share resources as well with the local associations.
And I am a reluctant user, so I just follow Will's lead, begrudgingly, dragging my feet. I miss analog, but it's nice to be with you all. So, all right, who is leading up another just conversation or wants to report out from another group? I've lost track who's doing what. Jerry.
Yes, okay. So we focused a little bit more on apps because I was very curious about that. So people are using apps, and we also talked about apps versus software and blah, blah, blah. Scheduling interviews and calls. The one being used was free, and I'm going to let them jump in. Also, volunteer application. Then we had a discussion on software providers and fees and how you need to investigate that. And some people are getting better deals because how they're partnering. I'll let them expand on that. They checking in and checking out, and it's actually more accurate than if somebody kind of forgets to do it and stuff like that. The better impact system was mentioned. Mentioned the names keep changing of some of these providers and things evolve. And Mary Lynn said one good thing of who she was using is like they kept changing, but they didn't charge them more with all these changes and updates. Even using them for background checks. And I raised the issue of like different generations of volunteers adapting or not, and options. And there was tech savvy, but there was an interesting point made, and I'll let somebody jump in on like the younger folk. You think they're tech savvy, but then their habits are like a little different. So maybe there are some challenges with that. And I'm going to throw it out to the group. What did I miss? What did I get wrong? Thank you.
Amanda, I think you covered everything, don't you?
Yeah, I just typed in the name of the calendar app that I've been using. It's free.
Thank you. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you. Ashley, were you in a different group?
Yes, I certainly was.
Awesome.
And our group had very similar suggestions. Wild Apricot was thrown out, Squarespace, MailChimp, Canva, Google Forms. I did raise the idea that if you're doing anything privacy related, Google may not be your best bet as the organization continues to grow. But I think the general consensus that I heard from my group is that while all of these items are wonderful and useful, and LinkedIn and Facebook and all of those things, that finding the time and the manpower to be able to effectively use them in a fashion that will be most effective is where the biggest challenge is with the teams that I spoke to.
Absolutely. Resources are always the challenge, right? Yeah. Thank you. Anybody else was in a group that hasn't shared out?
And it's time to move on to the next topic.
All right, let's do it. What's our next?
Excuse me, but I'd like to know what the privacy issues at Google are.
Will, do you have any feedback on that, or is that a longer conversation that we can provide info to, a link to or something?
I'm not necessarily aware of all of it, but I can look into it a little bit more and provide a little bit more information.
I think part of that, Shirley, is that in order to use Google Drive or Google Docs, you have to have a Gmail address, or to get access and create those files. And I think that's what we're talking.
Yeah.
So it's not necessarily personal, private information. It's just being able to get into the documents and share. Yeah, okay.
See, now we have a Google email for our association, and that is what allows us to get into, you can go through that to get into Google Docs.
Yeah.
Or Google
And
Drive.
you can set your different sharing preferences. We have a weird thing because we have Gmail, but our Gmail is managed by United Way Worldwide, and so we're restricted on some things we can do. So ours automatically defaults to only people in the United Way system can access our files. So we have to change the sharing preferences on everything we do, whether it's Drive, documents, Google Sheets, whatever it is, Google Forms. We have to change our sharing preferences. Well, sometimes those sharing preferences may be view, but people may need to actually edit it. And if you let them have edit, well, then they can actually change the document for the next person who needs to see it. So
awesome.
All right, I open the room, and the next topic is how are you an influencer in your organization?
All right, at your local association. Okay.
Yes.
Gretchen,
Hi.
I don't want to leave, but we have a staff meeting right now.
Oh, that reminds me. I better start the.
Or my local AV.
That's awesome. I take a size chocolate cake.
Yay! All right, welcome back, everybody. I'll just start by sharing what went on in my little group. We talked about how, as a kind of an offshoot of our board leadership or our local association leadership roles, we also do leadership and consulting opportunities with other organizations, and that's really, kind of been an opportunity for us to expand our reach just by consulting with other outside organizations outside of our local association. One thing that's been really meaningful to several of us was our work with Alive and collaborating like this across other local associations. That's been so helpful in supporting our local association, just having the collaboration, and so we can get different ideas and get support from people who are doing something similar in other areas. Usually there's only one in any one community, right? Some of us didn't really like our personal branding or the idea of personal branding. Some of us are more introverted than extroverted, but whether or not we wanted to do it personally, we really appreciate the people who do, like create content or are out there speaking in these spaces and providing that leadership for those of us who prefer to not do it, but just want to cheer on the people who do want to do it. And somebody made a really interesting point about, for them, it's not really about finding a brand. It's more about finding a voice and speaking to their local association, not necessarily about themselves as an individual, but really just amplifying the work of the association and the volunteers involved there. Some people talked about there being more influence at their own organization because of their leadership in the local association, right? Getting outside of their own organization's bubble and getting connected with the local communities has really expanded their influence at their own organization where they work, not necessarily at their local association. And then there was a good conversation around building credibility and influence and how that can be kind of external in a content creation kind of way, but also can be kind of internal, and it's just those relationships building and really talking about, what it means to be authentic and vulnerable in those relationships and how you can build trust and community with your local association. It doesn't necessarily have to be, particularly externally faced. It can be internal within the group. How about you, Mary Lynn? What did y'all talk about? Or who was sharing out from your group?
Jerry.
Jerry, okay, go for it.
Okay, so actually modeling behavior by example. How are you conducting yourself in terms of on the board? Also, another perspective was when there's like a very small group of people, you just roll up your sleeves and you move forward. Sometimes doing surveys. And we talked about how, like, sometimes you're connected to United Way, etc. It's like listening to ideas to get different perspectives from people. Sensitivity to the various members that you're dealing with and their perspective. Also, the thing is, who is volunteering, and how do you adjust to that? An influencer demonstrates leadership, makes folk aware of current trends. Also, one of the things we do with NIABA is we let people know about the Alive Academies in a really proactive way. So we're trying to influence our members and connecting to what's out there. Gina mentioned at the hybrid conference, the activity, the 5 hats, that was a demonstration of leadership in terms of getting people involved with that. And Amanda, who's, is kind of new to this, she's here today. I mean, she's an influencer because she's reaching out for information and wanting to learn more. I also made, because I did bring up that when I first heard this topic, I went, not that I follow them, but influencers, Kardashians, is that what we are? And I realized that there was one of the presenters did a really great job at the hybrid conference in breaking down to an influencer at your organization. How do you transfer that to your local association? Did I miss
Yes.
anything? Thank you.
All right, awesome. Ashley, how would you help chat?
Hello. Yeah, so our team had a lot of similar pieces to what I've just been hearing from everyone. Really standing up and being present, being there to weigh in and show that they're involved, that they're commenting on things, that they're reposting things when they come up. They're active in conversation and representing. And also knowing that there are people on the team that can step up and support. Having that support system was very, very important. And again, once again, our common theme has been finding the time to be able to be an influencer on top of all the other things. And maybe it's okay to take a step back and say, maybe not right now. And focus on the things that need to be focused on, and that will come with time. So giving yourself the grace to be able to say, I can do this, but maybe I can't do all of this without additional support and time and help.
Yeah, such a great point. And yeah, we need it to be sustainable. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. Is that all the groups? All right. What's our last topic?
So what was your biggest success in getting new members this year?
Awesome.
Let me break, where my button? Okay, here we go. Breakout rooms. Here we go. Open all the rooms.
Thanks, Gretchen.
Yep.
How old are they, Becca?
She will be 1 next month.
Oh, that'll
So,
be so sweet. Well, enjoy
yeah.
that.
Yes.
All right, last round. I'll share out quickly from our group around recruiting members. For us, it was important to have a calendar of programs that you're offering listed, in advance before you do any kind of outreach, and you list the benefits of your membership before you do outreach, because then when you're asking people to join as an association member and you're asking them for their fee, they can go to your website and be like, well, what do I get for my money? And it's already laid out there for them. So that's the first step, is to have something to offer them for their money so they know what they're getting into. If you just invite them like in a nebulous way, like they may or may not join. We talked about mapping out your area in terms of what nonprofits are in your area. At my association, we went to the Oregon Nonprofit Association and got the list of the nonprofits that were in our service area. And we just had a list, and we did actual membership drive where we would do outreach. We used to do it like 1 month was our membership drive month. It ended up being easier though for people to do it in little chunks. So like every month, everybody did 3 or 5 emails to just reach out to folks and invite them. Somebody made a great point that there's been so much turnover in our field that there's just a lot of new people out there who are potential members who don't know that you exist, or their executive director doesn't know that you exist. There's just been so much churn. It's worth doing actual outreach. So if you have a list that you're working from, people can either go in and just, this month I'm doing this, and check them off, or you can do an email blast where you get all of their contact information, send it to the executive directors, send it to the local or the volunteer, program managers. Get the word out there, and then follow up with an individual ask. And maybe that's an individual email like, hey, Carol, I see that you're leading programs here. Want to make sure you know about this as a resource, and here's what we offer. We'd love to see you at our next event on this day. Or if you can swing it, individual, phone calls or other kinds of conversations. For our local association, what's been most effective is using each program opportunity as a membership recruitment opportunity. So every time we have a workshop or a training or anything like that, we're mentioning membership, benefits of membership, inviting people to become members at all of those events. And also somebody suggested a free trial. So maybe give them their first 3 months free. And then, after that, your membership fee kicks in. Ashley, what did y'all talk about?
Well, Amanda was looking at having to increase the membership prices. So Giovanna had some great ideas and suggestions, offering early bird rates and discounts throughout the year, depending upon the time of the year when the membership was falling. So that was, I think that was really well received. They were doing happy hours and coffee hours, doing some email campaigns to increase memberships that way. Oh, one of the other things that that was mentioned that Giovanni said was that he heavily promotes the live webinars as a benefit for the local association, and
Yes.
getting their members to be able to participate in those webinars is a benefit to the local association's membership rate. So yeah.
Great idea. Love that. Jerry.
Okay. Special membership packages tied into an event. Mary Lynn does that. NIAVA does that with our Principles and Practices of Volunteer Program course. NIAVA was able to build up the membership committee. That was the one committee we were able to build up. It built up and then it gets smaller, whatever. But the new blood on the committee, which then leads to new ideas and things that you hadn't thought about. We've had to rebuild our database, and we've created what is called the prospect list. So everybody gets put on that. So our e-blasts and our website, there's the e-blasts, some are specific for members, some are for members and non-members, the prospect list. We actually have switched, I won't go into the history of our brown bag breakfasts, which usually have a topic now, but that's actually like a free, we send that to the prospect list. That's to anybody because everything falls under membership outreach. The happy hours, which are fun and networking and usually a theme to it. Once again, those are free and not free. They find us. A group in New Jersey, Professional Association, found us, and they found us because we have Facebook, LinkedIn, a website, and they didn't know about, they were for healthcare. They didn't know about another New York City healthcare professional associations because they didn't have a digital footprint. So that whole digital footprint is important. And I'm gonna ask Gina to do a really quick share because their members don't pay a membership fee. So Gina, do you wanna just share some of she said there's like pros and cons to that.
There
So
are pros
Gina?
and cons. Yes, so the group that we took over had been around for about 20, 30 years. They had almost $6,000 in the CD at the point we took them over, and we have struggled to get a treasurer for our organization. So we would charge anywhere from $25 to $35 to be a member of that every year. But then we gave that money much back to them, almost like a scholarship to attend a different conference in Illinois or attend one of our conferences we put on. And so it was kind of a wash at that point. So we decided just to offer it for free. But that's because we also have the money that was in our savings that we're using, and then we have our grant that we have. So that's why we do that. And then our membership comes from two streams then. It comes from the people who are in our volunteer center. So as I get new nonprofits to join our volunteer center, they join this administration group. And I'm also trying to get more of those informal types of volunteer groups or new nonprofits so that they have more maybe like faith-based organizations, new nonprofits, and try and get them engaged as well and sharing and learning about what everybody's doing in the community. So that's a little bit of a struggle. That's what we do.
Thanks, Gina.
Awesome. Great ideas, everybody. I think that is a wrap on our breakout rooms. So Gretchen, where are we heading next? You're muted.
Sorry. All right, next, let's see, we're gonna go to I'm just gonna start from the beginning and then
That's
just
fine. Click through. We'll get there.
close your eyes, don't get sick. Look at all those notes. So
Perfect.
because it's a little bit smaller group, I'm gonna kind of whip through this because I think most folks know this. And I have a hard stop at 3, so we're trying to end a few minutes early. So, but I will give a few moments. So you guys, I think all know this. We did a quick review of member benefits because there was some confusion out there. So when we post the slide deck, please take a look at this and let me know if there's something else we can do. We always because we have these different types of memberships, I think that, we try to make it as simple as possible, but despite that, people still get confused. So that's all I'm going to say about that. So as you know, Volunteer Managers Day is next week, November 5th, and there is a free webinar. If you go onto the Alive calendar, Kayla Paulson is doing one. Oh, I can't remember the topic, but it's free. And we'll be promoting that a little bit more. But really, what's our new normal for this year is, things have really changed. And I certainly heard it here, that the digital world, in 2009, I was part of a conference that Susan Ellis talked about, you better get going on this digital thing, blogs, websites, emails, all of that. It's not going away. And it really has. It's taken over our whole lives. And like Jen, I'm sometimes quite reluctant to go into that, digital space, but there are a lot of things that do save me time and that I enjoy, and others, not so much when it gets complicated. So I have some parting thoughts on the profession, and I was just going to share with you my little journey and just kind of what I thought about, in that new normal. So this is from a NOVA meeting that I went to February 17th in 2005. So when I did the math, and I was like, holy crap, that was almost 20 years ago. So we had this great presentation. And at that time, NOVA did monthly professional development sessions, and we went to this beautiful church on the other side of town. And I was lucky enough to be able to get the time off to go. And June Bass, who's still in Portland, Oregon, and I think she manages a volunteer program for the Multnomah County Library.
She's actually moved to another county area, but yes, yeah, she's still here.
But before that, she did what Jen did. And then she was also the HR manager there as well. So she did this great presentation where she had everybody, and I hopefully, and forgive my handwriting, I looked at that and I'm like, oh my gosh, my handwriting has changed so much because that's the new normal, right? How much of us type rather than write things out longhand, right? And this was all before that. So, she had you write down, what did you do yesterday? All the things. And then we put them up on the screen. And then we talked about, so you made a bunch of phone calls. So you've got communication skills. I set up for volunteer training. Oh, well, then you've got training skills. Oh, you've got event management skills. And so we went through this huge list. And then we talked about other professions that have those same skills. So, and that's, really bringing on that concept of we do so many little things. And I mean that, you always seen that comic book with that person with a little light bulb goes off. And this was my light bulb moment, was attending this topic in this meeting, because I was like, oh, with all the things I do, whoa, I really could do all these other things. So then I wrote down some things that I was good at that I thought at the time, and things that I wanted to improve in. And I think over time, I've learned a lot, and I don't profess to be an expert in anything. But I think the 3 main things I learned from this was, number 1 is being a member of a local association helps you think outside whatever little box you might be in at work, where you think, no, I can't do this. And I've always said that being involved with a local association or with Alive is it's good for you, because you generally have a lot more control over what happens than you may have in your own organization. So if you're frustrated by constraints of budget or time, or just that grumpy supervisor or other grumpy staff member who just is always no, for all the wrong reasons, this is a way for you to be able to get to some yeses and to really celebrate those successes. And then, don't overlook your internal talent, because we all come from different places. And there are so many times that there's so many translatable skills for volunteer engagement. So, you know, and you never know, because it could be, so before this, in way before 2005, I worked for McDonald's Corporation as a restaurant manager. So all those management skills were easy to transfer over. And then for a short term after McDonald's, long story, I owned a little mom and pop tavern, just like, remember that TV show Cheers? It was kind of like that. So I think that's where I really got good at being able to read people, you know. So, you know, think about all that past experience. And then I'm just a huge fan of, and now, you know, I might do it a little more digitally, but I still write it down and write it down. And you'll see why kind of when I talk about this in the next slide. So that was kind of the first part of this professional development webinar. And you could certainly, and make this into your own presentation if you wanted to do for your local association. Right now, I'm going to say that's probably not something I'm going to commit to right now. Maybe in 6 months, ask me, and maybe I'll do it. So then this is more of the goals. So this was, they said, okay, it's 5 years from now. So it's 2010. Where are you going to be, right? So I was feeling pretty good about the first section, and I thought, okay, so number one, I will have completed my degree. So, you know, I dropped out of college in 1977 to marry the man of my dreams. And that was my first husband. And he was he was the man of my nightmares. But I was really lucky. I was able to go back to school. I got my associate's degree. My goal was to get my bachelor's degree by the time I was 50. So, and I did, through my employer, paid for, you know, education credits. And then I happened to really luckily fall into this program where you could use life experience instead of taking all these classes. So, you know, I struggled through Spanish and I struggled through algebra, but everything else, I'd already done it. You know, I lived it, man. So they gave me all the credits I needed. And so I did, I completed my degree. And then it says, I will have moved up to the next level of my profession in volunteer management, full-time, good salary and benefits. And at that time, by 2010, yes, to that also, I worked full-time for the state of Oregon as the volunteer coordinator of volunteers for the long-term care ombudsman program. So state agency, good salary, good benefits, full-time, yes. And then I said, or an administrative management position. And I did a lot of that in that section as well with the volunteers that I got to work with. And then number three, I've had more leadership, mentoring, teaching experience with NOVA. Possible board chair. Well, I was the NOVA board president in 2008 and 9. So check. And then I said, I will have less volunteer responsibilities so that I have more time to relax and travel. And so that was in terms of, I prioritized. So this is, you know, kids were still at home in school, you know, lots of kid stuff going on, lots of stuff going on at church. So I kind of managed to back out of several things and was able to have more time to focus on, you know, the NOVA thing. So from that, you know, once a year, set some goals, large or small, long or short. I believe they help you stay encouraged and focused, you know. So even if just tomorrow is, I'm going to read every email, and maybe you don't have to do anything about it, but at least you're going to read them. But, you know, I just really wanted, the new normal is thinking big. And I know there are so many people that I work with now. And usually I am the oldest person in the room, but just like the way that Will was talking about, you know, technology and then those generational differences. So it's good to do that. And then, you know, be careful what you wish for. If you're going to dream big, you never know. And so as I'm like retiring and going through not mounds, but several drawers worth of paperwork, you know, and I had remembered this. I've always remembered that I did this, and I finally found these because I've been either shredding or recycling a lot of the other papers that are just not useful to anybody. So I was so happy to find this. So these are like, these 3 sheets of paper are something that I am not going to throw away. I'm going to save because they were really special to me. And then just number 3, just, you know, show up. And if I hadn't have gone to that meeting, I would not have gotten this great insight in that little light bulb. I would not have written down those things. And I would not be where I am today. So Okay. So then the next thing was, then they had you just, what's your next steps? So it's right, set goals and keep on track for classes and essays. And that was, at that time, 2005, that was community college. And then keep your eyes and ears open, continue networking and resume current skills and do a good job with Nova and say no more often. And so, everybody shared their similar goals and stuff. But again, I look at my handwriting and I'm like, oh, it's terrible handwriting. It's not any better. But again, I think what I just take away from that is just one small step, and just one small step towards that really big goal or even that small to medium sized goal. And what you can do, really make the effort to do it well, and if you can't commit, I think that's a perfectly good, and that is part of the new normal, right? And we talked about that with people are kind of that committee kind of a little scary. Maybe that sounds a little too, that's a generational term, right? For me, I'm like committee, yeah, I'm all over it. For other people that might be younger, they're like, "Ugh, that sounds so boring," which yes, they can be, but that's where the stuff happens, right? And I think, so if you can commit to something, just try to do the very best job that you can, or make sure you communicate with others when you cannot. Because, I've always found the profession is full of grace. If you, screw up, if you can't make it, if you can't do it, as long as you tell people, when you just completely fall off of the radar, people always get upset about that. And I'm still struggling with this every day. And Bill would tell you in a minute, when he hears me say this, just imagine my husband Bill rolling his eyes, because that's what he's going to do. No is a full sentence, and he knows I'm terrible at that. So here where I live in my, yeah, he's laughing. My over 55 community, everybody knows I still work, but they know I'm retiring. And so, I can hear that sucking sound from my neighbor who is the HOA president. He wants me to get involved and do things, but I'm going to try really hard for at least a year to do as little as nothing, or at least what I want to do. And, outside of, having time to have babies and, a little time off here and there. But I've worked mostly for like 54 years. So I'm ready to not do anything. And I won't have as much money, but that's okay, because I got plenty of stuff. So then, with that, so this is what I plan to be doing. This will be my new normal. And if you are friends with me on Facebook, then you get to see these. And then, so, going with family, my daughter on the left, and we're in world travelers. We're at Epcot in Germany. And then I've developed a group of friends here in the Orlando area. We wear dresses and go to Disney for just the hell of it. But sometimes, like this time was Halloween. But sometimes we'll just make up something like National Polka Dot Day, and then we all wear polka dot Disney themed dresses and go and have a great time. So it's super fun. And then of course, Bill and I, he's a good sport to dress up often. He wasn't always player with this, but once we started getting compliments, then he was like, oh, okay. So sometimes he'll get compliments and I don't. So that's always fun. So I just want to encourage you to, really, think back to that, what do you do? Give yourself that time to really think about those skills. And if you're still actively in the job market, I think it's always good to update your resume every 6 to 9 months or so, because you never know. But even if nothing comes up, you could still read it. And if you're having a bad day, you could still go, I'm pretty hot. I'm awesome. So I'm watching the clock. I want to try to end in just a minute. I have a few door prizes, but I would like to, if it's okay, include everybody else that came in. So I'll figure out a way to award them. One was we were going to do in a live membership. And one of the things I found when I was cleaning out were some small amount of Starbucks gift cards that you could use at a membership meeting to give out to people. So just for $5 each. So not,
Awesome.
value.
So
And
we'll let people know, or did you draw a name?
no, I haven't yet, but I will from
Okay.
the list, and I'll send that with a follow-up.
Perfect. Awesome. Well,
yeah, so here's our dates, and go ahead. I'll let you finish up.
I just, the dates are all fine, but I think I speak for everyone, both at Nova here in Portland and Alive here, us together. And honestly, across this profession, across this country, across North America, internationally, your impact in this field genuinely cannot be understated or overstated, or excuse me, cannot be overstated. It has been such an incredible honor and privilege to work with you for so many years. I have learned so much for you. You have served as a mentor to me. You are inspiration to me and to anybody who's ever met you. And I just really want to honor and celebrate and thank you for everything you have done to support and advance this profession. You know, we kind of work tirelessly and thanklessly sometimes, and having you as a champion and an advocate and in our corner and helping make this work better for us and for our organizations, and the ripple effect that you have had in communities across the world is not, it's really, really important. The people who are benefiting from the services of the organizations that have benefited from you supporting the work of their volunteer leaders, all of those, the armies of thousands and thousands of volunteers working communities benefiting from that service that comes from you and that pebble you're throwing in to create that ripple. And I just really want to honor and thank you for everything you have done. It has been an incredible privilege. And I will truly miss you. I can't imagine alive without you.
Well,
So
like I
will
said,
be missed.
it's not goodbye. It's just I'll be around.
It will,
And-
yes. And I think as long as you have enough money for Disney, that's all you need. So
Right.
send us pictures and have so much fun.
I have a tiny little pension from the state of Oregon that pays for our passes. So as long as I can still get that.
All you
And-
need.
Right. That is all I need. And again, you know, I am where I am today because I went to that one meeting. So local associations are everything. And I thank all of you for all the time and effort that you put into your local associations. And even if you think, and again, you know, does June Bass know what an impact she made? Probably not. But maybe, and I hope to get the chance to tell her. So I'm going to go ahead and end the meeting, and
Okay,
thank
everybody.
everybody.
Thanks for being together today.
Great time
Thanks,
and more
we love
soon.
you.
Mwah. Bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you, Gretchen. Thank you, Jen.